Good afternoon. It's 3 p.m. and I'll call to order the Board of Directors regular meeting for Monday, November 17th, 2025. May I have a roll call, please?
Director Meyerhoffen, Director Duff, Director Martin,
Here.
Vice President Griffith,
Present.
and President Sewell.
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Thank you. And I'll just mention that I did hear from Director Duff and Director Meyerhoffen, and their absences are excused. Neither of them will be participating remotely, so we'll skip item 3. And if you'd please rise for item 4, the Pledge of Allegiance. Director Martin, would you like to lead us?
Please join me in saluting our nation's flag. Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 5, Rules of Procedure, Counselor.
Yes, according to the rules of procedure adopted by the Board of Directors, all notice meetings are conducted using Rosenberg's Rules of Order as a procedural guideline. Directors should refrain from responding directly to public comments at meetings of the board. The president of the board presides at all meetings and decides all points of order and procedure during meetings. The president is responsible for the maintenance of order and decorum at all board meetings. No person should be allowed to speak who has not first been recognized by the president. All questions and remarks should be addressed to the president as the presiding officer. No member of the board should speak more than once upon any one subject until every other member of the board wishing to speak on that subject shall have been given an opportunity to speak. No board member shall interfere with the orderly progress of a board meeting.
Thank you. Item 6, public input. This is the opportunity for members of the public to address the board on matters within the board's jurisdiction. Please limit comments to 3 minutes or less. State law prohibits the board from discussing or taking action on any item not listed on the agenda. Do we have any members of the public wishing to address the board today?
President Sewell, I know of at least one.
Okay, and we do have one here.
Excellent.
Just to clarify, did you want to speak on the public hearing for item 8, the sewer service rules?
So
that will be a separate, but thank you.
Micah, are you making general public comment or on a specific item?
It would be on the proposed revisions to the sewer ordinance.
Excellent.
Okay, so that will be up just shortly.
Okay.
With that, we'll move on to item 7, Human Resources Report. General Manager.
Thank you, President Sewell, members of the board. We do have one person we would like to recognize as a new employee, Brad Adams, but unfortunately there was an incident that he was working on today that it would not allow him to attend today's board meeting, but we will bring him back for December so everybody gets a chance to meet him.
Okay. And I do see lots of anniversaries for this month, but no milestone years. So just congratulations on all those anniversaries. And now we will move on to item 8, and that's our public hearing for ordinance 2025-03, amending sewer service rules and regulations, Article 7, grease and sand interceptors, and Article 11, enforcement. This is the time and place fixed to publicly hear all protests, objections, or appeals with respect to ordinance number 2025-03, amending sewer service rules and regulations for Articles 7 and 11. The public hearing will be declared open and staff will give the report. I will then call for comments from the public. During this time, there will be no back and forth conversation between the public and the board and staff. All questions will be noted and will be addressed after all public comments have been received. The public hearing will then be closed and the board may discuss and vote on the proposed assessments. I declare this public hearing open. Secretary's report, please.
Notice of public hearing was published in the Desert Sun on October 31st and November 7th, 2025. As of this afternoon, there have been no comments or protests on this item.
Okay, thank you. And we have a staff report.
Yes, we do. President Sewell, I'll ask our associate engineer, Daniel Virgin, give this presentation. As he gets up and the presentation gets started, I just would like to remind everyone and everybody here from the public that we did have in our packet, we did have a attachment for Article 7, which was simply just a normal copy of what the proposed regulation would look like. We have since handed out, and we have for the public a red line version of that, so you can tell what we've changed, what we've stricken, and things of that nature. So with that being said, I will turn it over to Daniel. Daniel?
Thank you, General Manager Macy. Hi, my name is Daniel Richard Jr. I'm an associate engineer here at Mission Springs Water District, and I will be presenting item 8, public hearing ordinance 2025-03, amending sewer service rules and regulations, Article 7, which is grease sand interceptors, and Article 11, which is enforcement. As General Manager Macy just said, there is physical copies of Article 7 here. And I believe I passed out physical copies for the board member and president for all the changes that we're proposing to make. Staff is proposing some changes and updates to all of Article 7 and Section 11.05 and 06 in Article 11 to reinforce and strengthen our ordinance. So Article 7 applies to the FOG program. So just a quick overview. The FOG program, or FOG, stands for fats, oils, and grease. The FOG program applies to any public or private facility that discharges wastewater containing fats, oils, grease, sand, or lint when pretreatment is deemed by the district. This means the district requires facility users to install interceptors or grease traps when their establishment is discharging FOG into our sewer line. The purpose of the program is to protect our public sewer system from blockages or clogs, so we won't have any backups to our sewer system or the other nearby customers' sewer systems that are upstream. Additionally, it also promotes environmental stewardship, so it makes facility users responsible and fosters regulatory compliance. We enforce the interceptors to be installed to control the wastewater discharge from any establishment. So proposed changes to Article 7. Everything that is in red, everything that's struck through in red is language that we are removing. Everything that is in red that doesn't have a strike through is language we are adding. We included lint into the ordinance language for transparency. Lint is already part of the FOG program. However, before, the language was not in the ordinance. Additionally, other updates we did was revise the ordinance language for comprehension and readability. The one thing that we kept running into was applicants or permit holders would ask us for clarification or references to the ordinance. So although we are always willing to help customers, we updated the language in the ordinance to make it easier to understand and easy for us as well to reference when we're talking to any permit holder or potential applicant. Continuing on Article 7, Section 7.05, interceptor requirements. As you can see, we've revised the language and included clear verbiage on expectations, responsibilities, permit requirements, enforcement. We made it clear in a defined process. And speaking of enforcement, I'd like to mention that in the FOG program, we follow the Section 7.20 enforcement for non-compliant users. So if a facility user is non-compliant, they'll get issued a notice of violation and receive 10 days to comply. Then if they don't, then a cease and desist will be issued, and their fine would be $1,000 per day until compliance is met. Now, I wanted to explain the reason why I wanted to explain this and bring this up is the updates to Article 11 enforcements primarily applies to industrial waste program. In the FOG program, we technically have the flexibility to use Article 11. However, we decided to not implement it in the FOG program because of the impact on their sewer system from FOG is significantly less than the industrial waste program. So applying the same level of enforcement isn't necessary today, but again, we have that flexibility. Continuing on Article 7, but this time on Section 7.17, waivers. So facilities with waiver statuses will now be required to apply for permits under the waiver status and undergo annual inspections. So previously, establishments meeting waiver eligibility were granted a waiver. Under this revised process, establishments are now required to submit an application in order to obtain a waiver permit. In addition, annual inspections will be conducted to verify continued compliance with the waiver qualification. So one of the things we want to capture if it goes missing is if a facility decides to revamp their menu and now they're discharging FOG and they forget to convey that information to the district. With our annual inspections, we'll be able to capture that and they would have to now get a regular permit. Article 11, so the ordinance updates on Article 11, Section 11.05 and 06 applies to the industrial waste program. But again, just to reiterate what I said earlier, that we can use it on the FOG program. But as for an overview in the industrial waste program, also known as pretreatment, industrial waste is defined as all wastewater from any manufacturing, processing, institutional, commercial, or agricultural operation, or any operation where the wastewater discharges include significant quantities of waste of non-human origins. So no industrial waste shall be discharged to the public sewer, which exceeds the constituents concentrations in the following table. There are 9 constituents, and the discharge of water of natural geothermal origins is expressly prohibited. So the update on Article 11, Section 11.05, civil penalties. We updated the timeline for the fines where we call it for $1,000 per day for the first 30 days. Then we increase it to $5,000 for the next per day for the next 30 days. And if compliance is still not met, then we continue to increase it to $10,000 per day for the next 60 days. And after that, if compliance isn't still met, then termination of water and sewer services. So the termination of water and sewer services is after the 120-day mark. Additionally, we are requiring permit holders to notify the district staff immediately when they believe that they achieved compliance. Because right now we're currently on a 1-month schedule on testing each facility. So if they decide, if they comply earlier in the month and we still have 3 weeks, or if our schedule is on the 3rd week and they make compliance, they believe they met compliance on the 1st week, they have to tell us immediately, or else they're going to wait until we go out there and test it on our regular schedule. So just to recap and recommendation, in Article 7, we revised terminology for clarity and consistency. We also added LINT for transparency. We defined notification stages and expanded waiver and process. For Article 11, enforcement, we increased the fines and we are requiring dischargers to notify the district once they believe compliance is achieved. So recommendation is we recommend the board to adopt the revised ordinance to Article 7 and 11. And that's the end of my presentation.
Can I just clarify one thing on this slide while it's still up? The increase of fines, actually, it's not an increase of fines. We were always able to go up to $10,000 a day, and we will if the discharge impacts our plant or other things of that nature. But I think what this change does, it simply lays out a plan forward to where we are every 30 days to make sure that I think the board wanted to do one of two things. The fines that we were starting with were $1,000 per day per violation, wasn't necessarily grabbing the industry's attention. So I think the board made the conscious decision to make sure that termination of services was clear. And I think the board's accomplished that by the language that is now in the updated version of the ordinance, if approved. So from that perspective, it's a good thing. And I would like to say with the city's help, it seems to be working. We have 4 people that have been fined for longer than 190 days, and only one of them has actually tried to change their process to get into compliance. The other 3, one of them we've heard from, the other 2 we have not heard anything from. So from that perspective, because we put this out there, we do have meetings scheduled with 2 of the entities this Wednesday, and then the other 2 next Wednesday. So the board's, I believe the board's intent was to get everyone's attention because we weren't changing behavior with just fines. And I think we've done that. So I just wanted to pass that along, that we continue to work with these folks the best we can, and then and we will be meeting with them and included the city in the next 10 days.
Now, I want to add to that today what's before the board is the ordinance, the changes. There may be folks that have appeals pending or their unique situation. This hearing is not about their appeal. It's not to argue that. That would be agendized at a later time if they proceed with that. The purpose today is to discuss whether or not to adopt the changes to the ordinances.
Okay. Thank you. Anything further from staff before we go to public? Okay.
Question.
Oh.
Yeah. I noticed that this is about grease and sands interceptors. Is there a separate section concerning the cannabis industry, or is this?
Nothing related to cannabis. It's our pre-treatment program, and the cannabis cannabis folks are part of our pre-treatment program. So Article 11 includes all of our enforcement abilities when it comes to wastewater.
Okay, and in the past, we have told them that after notice that they were in violation, this is a cannabis industry I'm talking about.
This is all. I don't want to distinguish just cannabis. They are the only industry that we have in town, but it's the pre-treatment for industrial uses. That's the way it's defined by US EPA.
So I can't ask a question on this.
You can, but it's the industrial pre-treatment program.
Yeah. Okay. So. Well, I'll pass on with that. I'm concerned that if under these circumstances here, that somebody is out of compliance and we threaten and then subsequently impose a penalty on their non-compliance. In the past, we have, if they comply, we have waived the fees. Is that no longer the impact on this at all?
I don't know that we waive fees, but we can negotiate what those fines should be. And there is provisions within Article 11 that allow that to happen. And actually, we accomplished this a couple months ago when we brought a similar change to the board that did discuss that the entire board would hear that would preside over that type of a hearing.
Okay, and well, I lost my train of thought. Okay.
Well, and we'll have more time to discuss after public comment.
Okay.
So now's the time for public comment. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. If a speaker before you has made the same point, please minimize your repetition of that point. There will be no back and forth conversation between the public and the board and staff. All questions raised will be addressed after the public comment period has closed. At this time, I believe we have a couple, one online and one in person. But would we like to do the online?
One online.
Dory?
Let's do the in-person ones on first, and then we'll go to online.
And
Right.
just to clarify, the public hearing is open.
Yes.
Right.
Come forward, sir. And if you'd state your name into the microphone. Yes, please.
My name is George Artillis. We are current operators. We just moved in about 3 months ago to building 2B over on Little Morongo, 13310 Little Morongo in the Cannabis Park. President Sewell, board members, to make it quite concise and quick, some of this obviously doesn't pertain to us, but as you said, the pre-treatment to this, and then obviously the fines that go to it. The swift, I can understand your reasoning, your facts, and moving swiftly to impose fines and do this. Consider, if it'd be nice, or way to consider a way to work hand in hand with operators like ourselves in finding solutions out for this that aren't just immediate to, get an operator that doesn't fit on a property, just because of like certain situations are very unique. So I don't know if there's a way you guys can integrate through your members or through your local enforcers to take it on a case-by-case basis and not impose these fines so swiftly just because, like, for example, like 10 days you start imposing fines and it starts adding up. Just to get a professional out, it takes us 30 to 45 days to schedule somebody in, and you're subject to just waiting for somebody to show up to get that advice or to get that help. So just something out that I wanted to impose. Secondly, in this ordinance, quickly reading, you guys imposed putting these interceptors in and having landlords and the operators responsible for that. Operators don't have really any kind of like saying it. Granted, we put pressure on the landlords, but we're almost being held hostage in between a part that we're getting squeezed from both ends. Like we're getting hit with the fines and being part of that, and we're getting the pressure of trying to move and do something with the landlord. So just something to consider in when you're pushing this hard. That's it.
Thank you, George.
And I'd recommend letting all the members of the public comment before having staff respond.
Okay. Did we have any other members here in the room that wanted to speak? No. Okay. Dory, you said there was one online?
Yes, at least one online that I know of. If there's anybody else online that wishes to make public comment on this item, please unmute your mic. If you are present by phone only, that is *6. And I will call on you in no particular order. So first up, we've got Micah Bailey.
Good afternoon, President Sewell, honorable members of the district. My name is Micah Bailey, and I represent Cabot Management, which is another cannabis operator in DHS. Cabot is facing, at last we heard, it was $376,000 in fines that date back to April 30 of 2025. I recognize, and we do have some pending appeals, which we remain hopeful we can work out. And I believe we're one of the operators that will be meeting with the city and the district on Wednesday. I know we're here for just discussion of the adoption of this ordinance, and I'll focus my comments on that. In particular, section 11.05, with respect to the proposed change that the district be notified immediately once corrective action has been taken by the operator or the permit holder. We have some continuing reservations and concerns about leaving the language just like this. The first fine that Cabot received originates from April, and it was April X, I forget the date, and there was not testing that occurred after that on a regular monthly schedule. Or if there was, we didn't receive it in our response to document requests, because Cabot did pass 2 tests in July and August, and I don't believe that there was any testing done in June or May. So I think there could be some more robust language put into this particular provision about how an operator goes about notifying the district, whether it's been writing, and whether it's who the operator needs to talk to. Because right now we've been in an ongoing state of misunderstanding about the actual fines that the district is seeking to impose, which eventually will become too much, and Cabot will go out of business as a result of these fines if we can't work it out. I think that um, in addition to this language about imposing the obligation on the operator, there should be some specificity on how the operator receives notice. For instance, on November 5 of this year, my client received notice of an additional $176,000 in fines, and the notice required compliance the next day. And that had to do with test results that originated from September. So all of these fines that my client received notice of on November 5, it would have been impossible for them to even do anything. So we just request some additional language in there specifying how the notice is given to the operator. Thank you.
Thank you, Micah. Did we have any others, Dory?
Is there anybody else that wishes to make public comment on this item? President Sewell, it doesn't appear that there is anybody else for public comment.
Okay. Well, with no further speakers, I'll declare the public hearing closed. And staff, did you want to respond to either commenter?
The only thing is I don't want to speak specifically about one of our customers, but yes, there has been some instances where we first started the program was only testing on a 3-month basis, but we found that we had some folks that were not, even though we notified them and issued a cease and desist, they were not trying to get into compliance. So we started then ramping up on a monthly basis. So there is some validity there. We expected once we said, hey, look, you're not meeting our standards, that they would actually act and try to get into compliance, and they weren't. So that's why we went from quarterly testing to monthly testing. As for the original cost of fines, absolutely correct. It was April, they were non-compliant, and then when we tested them again in July, they were. So we then stopped the fines at that time. One of the reasons that I believe that it was suggested that we wanted to basically be told, if possible, when they get into compliance. As you get to, if you have, in some cases, I'll just use an example, 2 different outstanding issues and 2 violations, and we're charging you $5,000 for each, it's $10,000 a day. The testing component of that is about $700. And we would like to know as soon as possible that they are now meeting or in compliance, so we can go out there and test to make sure that they are, so we can stop the fine. Our goal is not to fine anyone. Our goal is compliance. So if we are aware that someone is in compliance, we want to go out there and test them immediately and stop the fines and stop the process and start working with them to make sure that we can then negotiate a fine that everybody is accepted to. So from that perspective, he did bring up some very good points, and we have modified at least some of them and then acknowledged that we want to know sooner than later. And I would thank SBMP, Pete Nolan's the one that put that language in there, because there was an instance where someone did test, went from a positive or a non-compliant test to a compliant test, and it wasn't in there. So he made sure to add that so we would know, so we could try to reduce the fines as quickly as possible. Okay. And as far as George, I'll meet with him as soon as this item's over. I want to meet with him in the hall, because I know there's some things that he mentioned that I just want to talk to him one-on-one about. So I'll do that. Okay.
And if the board is inclined, we can certainly consider the comments that were made regarding the notice, and we could bring it back at, the December meeting if that's the desire of the board.
Okay. Did we have any further questions or comments today?
Yeah, one question that in the past, I was under the impression that if we did not take action on these violations, that the state could impose fines against the water district. Is that not true?
Not necessarily. The reason we set some of the limits where we did was because if they got to our plant and impacted our plant operations, and then took the plant out of compliance, then the state could then come after us for noncompliance at our plant at our permit. So we put these measures in place. So if we saw something at our plant, we could then go, if they had an application on file and we knew what chemicals they were using and we had recent sampling data, we could go back to them and say, okay, now we're going to start with you first. Very similar to what if we had a bunch of dentist office that were still using mercury years ago. If we had a mercury issue at the plant, we would go talk to the dentist office first, only because we knew they were using that particular metal. So from that perspective, it's very similar. We need to know what they're using on file. So if it shows up at our plant that causes an upset at our plant, we can go then work with them to take care of that. So in reality, it's not necessarily that the state would fine us for non-compliance. That's also possible. As I mentioned before, this industrial pretreatment program is mandated by US EPA and then in turn, California EPA. So we do have a responsibility to do this, and that would be, there are fines and other such violations associated with that. So the program has to exist because of federal and state regulations. And then as far as these fines that we have in front of you today, from a perspective of our customers, is just to protect us in case something happens at our plant.
That's a good point, and I hope that's something that we make the public aware of, that we're potentially facing fines if we don't enforce the compliance.
Thank you. Vice President?
So I know that Director Duff has worked on this, and actually prior to her being on the board, there was no program of this type in terms of industrial discharge for certain industries. And so I think that obviously we've had two people who have spoken today. I'm sure there might be more, or maybe they don't care. But I do think that it is incumbent on us to have the full board here for the hearing. I think it's an important enough topic. And I think that just the three of us sitting up here doesn't give everybody a fair chance. And so if possible, I'd like to move that we table this until our December meeting. That way we can have a full board and have a more robust discussion.
So you would essentially continue the public hearing until the December meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Do I need to reopen it since
No, it would be left open and you would continue it and then you'd pick back up if other people wanted to come in and speak in December, then they'd have an opportunity to do so before you close the public hearing and made a decision.
Okay. I'll second the motion to extend to next month.
Yeah.
And I'll just put my comments out there that our goal is not to stifle business or shut down, or we want to work together. I think when these were at a lower rate, there wasn't much cooperation. So I'm excited that you have those meetings coming up these next 2 weeks. And with that, can we do a roll call vote for Robert's motion?
Yes, Director Martin,
Aye.
Vice President Griffith.
Aye.
And President Sewell.
Yes.
The motion to continue the public hearing has passed.
Thank you. Brian, did you want us to take 5, or do you want us to proceed?
No, I think staff can handle the board items in front of us. I'll just meet with them in the hall if that's okay with you.
Okay.
We have marriage.
With that, we'll move on to item 9, and that's award of contract amendment number 1 to Kenwood Energy for professional engineering services to provide construction management services for the power purchase agreement. It is recommended to authorize the general manager to execute amendment number 1 to the contract with Kenwood Energy, increasing the contract amount by $80,227.11 for a revised not to exceed total of $180,774.63. This amendment provides for professional engineering services, including construction management support for the power purchase agreement with Trident Mission Springs LLC, and authorizes the general manager to do all things necessary to complete the project. General Manager, Assistant General.
Thank you. We do have our Operations Director, Danny Friend. We did provide an update at Thursday's study session. Danny, do you have some additional information?
No, I just wanted to come up in case there was any other additional questions. But if there's any additional questions for my presentation on Thursday, I'm happy to answer this.
We've got to
We've lost quorum, so we need to take a minute.
Mr. Friend, could you please repeat your comment?
Certainly. Last Thursday, as Assistant General Manager Champion said, I gave a presentation on this item. I'm happy to answer if there's any additional questions.
Any questions? Any questions? And I don't have any questions. I'll just say I appreciate all the work that's gone into this. I know costs have risen a little on the solar project, but in the long term, it's still going to be a huge cost savings to our district. So with that, do we have?
I move that we award contract amendment number 1 to Kenwood Energy for professional engineering services to provide construction management services for the power purchase agreement.
I'll second. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Martin,
Aye.
Vice President Griffith.
Aye.
And President Sewell.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 10, Resolution 2025-20, approving the initial study and adopting the mitigated negative declaration for the Mission Springs Water District street improvements for the Regional Wastewater Reclamation Facility Project. Assistant General Manager.
Thank you, President Sewell. We did give a presentation on this on Thursday. However, we do have members here from the environmental team and also operations team if you have any questions.
Any questions, Vice President?
I have none.
And I have nothing further, but I appreciate you coming in. With that, I will move Resolution 2025-20.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Martin,
Aye.
Vice President Griffith.
Aye.
And President Sewell.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 11, award of contract to Civic Plus for website design, hosting, and agenda management services. It is recommended to authorize the general manager to execute a 3-year agreement with Civic Plus for website design and hosting services at a cost of $108,000, $51.66. Assistant General Manager.
Thank you, President Sewell. We did have a good discussion about this item last Thursday. Thank you for all your questions and the feedback I received from the board. If you have any additional questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay. Director Martin?
No.
Vice
No.
President? And I'll just make a short comment. It's kind of amazing to hear the restraints that our current hosting has and the hoops that our staff has to jump through to just make a simple change on the website. So I'm excited to see this. And with that, I will move item 11.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Martin,
Aye.
Vice President Griffith.
Aye.
And President Sewell.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Item 12 is contract amendment for West Yost for professional engineering services for design and permitting modifications to the Horton wastewater treatment plant percolation ponds. It is recommended to authorize the general manager to execute an amendment for West Yost in the amount of $153,560 for a not to exceed total contract amount of $419,566 to perform design and permitting of modifications to the Horton wastewater treatment plant percolation ponds.
Thank you, President. Thank you, President Sewell. We did have a presentation. However, do we have anything we wanted to add?
Nothing to add other than just please approve the recommendations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Any questions or comments, Director Martin?
You didn't say please.
I did. It was stuck in the throat.
Nothing further.
I
Thank
have
you.
none, but I'll make a motion.
We have a motion for item 12. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Martin,
Yes.
Vice President Griffith.
Aye.
And President Sewell.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to discussion items. Item 13 is our administrative building update. Any update today?
I don't believe we have any updates today. We did speak a little bit in general about this with Director Meyerhoffen, and we talked about bringing back some green building updates, but that will probably be at our December meeting.
Okay, great. Anything from the board? No. Item 14 is our groundwater protection program update.
Nothing new to add from Thursday.
Thank you. The consent agenda this month consists of just 2 items, and that's the item 15, approval of minutes, and item 16, register of demands. Did anyone want to pull either of those items to discuss? No. With that, do we have a motion to
I will
approve?
move approval of consent agenda.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Martin,
Yes.
Vice President Griffith,
Aye.
and President Sewell.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 17 is our director's reports. I believe all three of us have to go today.
I'll go. I'm short and sweet.
Okay.
I don't know about sweet, but I'm short. It will be short. The thing I have to report on is what Director Duff did, which is the Palm Springs Unified School District Legislative Breakfast. And that was so long ago, I don't even remember all of it. I know we had some musical performances and they did their little videos. It's always good to watch the kids in action. Sometimes they screw up and the audience kind of cheers them on because they catch themselves. And it's a really good opportunity for them to develop their skills in terms of being in front of people, public speaking. And it's always a nice little event that they put on. And so I'm always happy to go. But, you know, as far as details, statistics, they give us statistics on the demographics on all sorts of stuff. And I don't have my stuff in front of me. And 2 months later, I'm old. I don't remember anything, but it was entertaining.
Well, I'll piggyback off that if you don't mind me cutting in front of you.
Go ahead.
I also attended October 8th PSUSD Legislative Breakfast. Like Vice President said, it's a good event and I like that they get the students so involved, but from prior years, it seems like they're doing less and less in-depth details. And when they have a group of legislators or community public officials in the audience, I feel like we should be given a little bit more data than just seeing the performances. But overall, I thought it was good. We did hear from the new superintendent, Marcus Funches, and I was impressed with his goals for the future. October 14th and the 28th, CVWD board meetings. Both meetings were pretty routine and rather short, but on the 14th meeting, Director Aguilar did mention he was hopeful to make some progress on the ID8 area because it was slowing growth for the city of Desert Hot Springs. And then on the 28th meeting, Director Nelson had some positive comments regarding our 2x2 ID8 meeting that we held here at MSWD. And I just appreciate that our boards are working together and look forward to the future on that. October 15th is my last one, and that was an AWWA webinar, The Future of Water Utility Financial Sustainability. There were several strategies and challenges about long-term financial health that were discussed. Most were really focused on risk minimization strategies, including increasing reserve targets and designing rates to cover fixed costs. A major theme was the concept of full cost pricing, which includes not only operations and debt, but also reserves and capital investments. The webinar really stressed about strengthening both staff and board alignment to support more sustainable pricing and investment decisions. Majority of the presenters were staff from different agencies, and they mentioned that dysfunctional boards were pretty much the biggest issue when focusing on financial sustainability. So I'm happy that our board seems to be working well together and that our staff gives us plenty of data to make good decisions. Also mentioned is that AWWA is going to start offering a financial sustainability certificate. They're hoping to have applications soon, and it seems like most of the requirements we already have completed, so it should be hopefully an easy certificate for us to get. So, Director Martin, your report?
Sure. On the 2nd of October, Desert Valley Builders Association legislative meeting. As usual, there are representatives from the cities, counties, state in attendance. Dirk Voss was the representative from Desert Hot Springs City Council. And he's going to start attending a lot of the events that Desert Valley Builders Association puts on. On the 7th City Council meeting, one of the things I kind of like it about is both City Council meetings that month were relatively short, especially compared to our agenda and stuff that we have on there. And that's kind of unusual, that that's two meetings in a row. On the 7th, Mayor Mattis announced a state proclamation designated the second week in October as Code Enforcement Officers Appreciation Week. that's kind of a nice thing to do because they do a lot of hard work and have to put up with a lot of nonsense and enforcing code enforcement stuff. So I'm glad to see that that's being done on a statewide level. Presentation on the affordable housing element, and there were public comments, people expressing concern about flood control with the pending storm coming up, and the storm did hit us, and I understand there was some issues regarding that. On the 13th, Desert Valley Builders Association board meeting, there was a budget review. We're in good shape. On the 21st, City Council meeting approved a professional services agreement for the engineering design of the Skyborne Park project. On the 4th, one night out, Paris, at the Palm Springs Air Museum. Very well attended. A lot of people from a lot of electeds from all over the Coachella Valley and the state. And there was a lot of people in full costume from the 1700s, powdered wigs and the like. It was quite an impressive event. I'm sorry.
Was that your school days?
Yeah, that was my school days. On the 4th Historical Society event at the Rock House, I was very pleased to see that the Mission Springs Water District had a booth there, passing out water. That was a nice surprise. I guess you were surprised. I was there too, so double surprise. Okay, good. On the 8th, I was a featured speaker at the Palm Springs Realtors Association. There were a little over 200 attendees. It was a question and answer. One of the speakers strongly opposed our 5-year rate increase. And I politely pointed out in the last 5 years how much real estate had increased and how much more it would be willing to increase the next 5 years. And when you think about $100 a month water rate cost, it's going to go up to 150 after 5 years. It doesn't seem so bad to me. So fortunately, there wasn't a lot of people complaining about it at that time. On the 27th, Cabot's board meeting, went over the financial reports, the balance sheet as of September 30th, and the profit and loss statement approved. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Moving on to item 18, we did do finance and public affairs on Thursday. Did we have anything further for the general manager's report?
Just one thing that was on the calendar of events, but we hadn't talked about it openly. There is an opportunity to celebrate the 100th year celebration of Valley Sanitary District. Jason Dafford, who I know some of the board members have met over the past couple of years, didn't know if the board wanted to attend that or make it a compensable event. So I just put it on the agenda for that discussion. But other than that, we have nothing more to add to our report on Thursday.
Do you know the time of that?
I believe excuse me. The date is November 20th, and I believe it's at either 3 or 5 o'clock at the Coachella Valley Historical Museum in Indio.
Okay.
3 o'clock, 3 to 5.
Do we want to approve board compensation for Valley Sanitary District 100-year celebration?
I'm okay with it.
I'm good with that.
Do we need a formal motion?
I'll give one anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
We had what's that, 100th anniversary of Valley Sanitary District?
Yes.
Event as compensable for the board of directors.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Martin,
Aye.
Vice President Griffith,
Aye.
and President Sewell.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank
It
you.
is. It's this Thursday.
And is that all for general manager's report?
That is, President.
Okay, thank you. And item 19, director comments and requests for future agenda items. Director Martin,
No comment.
Vice President?
I have nothing to add.
And I'll just say it's quite a bit different with only 3 of us. But thank you to our staff for all your hard work, and I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving holiday. And with that, the meeting is adjourned.